Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody had a nice, relaxing extra day, Labor Day. Everybody here in the U.S., to all of my viewers overseas, um, hope your Monday went well. The ones that are in bed right now, hope you guys are having a good rest. Um, I was thinking about something and I realized that there's a big part of my life that I really haven't talked about openly. There's quite a few people that do know, um, certain things, and um, I guess it kind of will tie into to some of the information that I talked about a few weeks back. But something I just don't talk to everybody about is the fact that I've actually been married 4 separate times. Um, and I believe me, I know how that sounds. Um, so I'll try to kind of go through this, and I think a lot of it'll make sense because there's just it's not really what it sounds like, but legally, I have been married 4 separate times. So obviously, everybody knows that I have 3 children, um, and I actually have 3 children from 3 separate women. So what I'll go through is try to unpackage this kind of like in a chronological way. Some of it'll make sense. Some of it will tie in certain things, and hopefully it'll close the loop on some other information. Um, so I've talked about the fact that had my oldest child, uh, a month before I was 21 years old. He was born March 17th, 2003, and I turned 21 April of 2003. So his mom and I actually have known each other since like 12th grade. Her parents owned like a little gift shop in the town I grew up in, and I used to go into the shop like when I first got my car, and I'd go in there and I'd flirt with her and all that stuff. And I moved away, lived in Canada for a while for about a year and a half. Man, that was a good one. I had waffles for lunch. I had peanut butter waffles for lunch that tasted like peanut butter. Um, anyway, I I'd come back from Canada, and her dad, and I guess that'll be another story I'll talk about at some other time, living in Canada and while I was up there. But her dad and cousins were actually working and paving my parents' driveway, and her dad didn't realize that I knew his daughter. Like I said, we'd known each other since we were 12 years old, went to school together. So anyway, our fathers thought it would be a great idea to try to kind of set us up. So we ended up dated for a little while. Reality is, we dated for like 3 months. I talk about being responsible, and I talked about that in a couple of videos. Well, we consciously made a decision. I mean, we I guess you can't say consciously. We just didn't think about using protection, and well, we got pregnant. And so we ended up getting married. Our parents pretty much forced us to get married um, at 20 years old. And I believe, I mean, I think that's kind of the right thing. Hindsight 2020, whatever. But I think that the effort that our parents made to try to bring a family together. I mean, her parents have been married for over 40 years. My parents were married for 42 years. So obviously they kind of know how to make things work. So they made the best effort to try to I guess do what was right. And in reality, it just her and I just didn't mesh. We've been able to maintain friendship throughout the years, and raised an amazing child together. So we actually got divorced in April of 2004. So that was one. Well, I ended up meeting. It was kind of funny. So, well, I'll just name them. I'll just call them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's the one I just talked about was number 1. So fast forward a couple years, I'm traveling back and forth between Texas and Florida, living in a house down there, working from on with hurricane work down in Florida, Miami, and had a condo here in Houston, so I'd travel back and forth. Well, at that time of my life, I'd made a bunch of money and was being stupid with it and going out partying every night. So I ended up meeting who ended up being number 3. So notice I didn't say met number 2. I ended up meeting who ended up being number 3. So we dated for like 2 months, whatever, kind of went separate ways. And then in June of 2006, I ended up meeting number 2. We dated for a couple years, ended up having a child together in 2008. We'd been living together since early 2007. We did, like I said, we dated for a year, lived together, ended up living together for about a year, ended up having a child, together in July of 2008, our daughter. And, we ended up getting divorced in 2011. Now, if you guys have watched the video from the 16th, then you guys will know that she is that one that I'm referring to. The mother of my daughter is that one. That's number 2. So you guys can go back and watch that one, and it'll explain a whole lot more. But yeah, so she was number 2, and we got divorced in 2011. And then during the divorce process, it was really weird. It was a really weird scenario. I was traveling between Houston and North Carolina from a hurricane that hit out there in 2011, and ended up out of the clear blue, happened to see an old friend of mine that I had dated back in 2006, and I knew she had dated I guess for a period of time, she had dated a friend of mine, and I just happened to, I guess, come across her on social media and literally just said hi, kind of thing. Come to find out, her and that guy had been broken up for a while, and we just started talking and stuff. We obviously had a past, and so we just started hanging out a little bit, and again, ties into the video from the 16th of August there, is that when I was being sent away, she found out, we dated for about a year, her and I, and as I was being sent away, she finds out she was pregnant. So the whole time I'm away, she is pregnant and gives birth to our son, my baby, who was born in May of 2013. And she's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Like I said, number 1, we're friends to this day. Yeah, we went through a lot of back and forth early on. She's remarried to a really, really good guy. I actually told him that we probably would not all be where we are today as far as like being able to communicate regularly if it wasn't for him. He's a really good guy, really kind of, calm, level-headed individual, and has really, he really advocated when her and I were fighting, he really advocated for her to kind of like, hey, not interfere with me seeing my son. And not saying that she really did, just he was kind of level-headed about it. So when she would get upset about something, he's just like, look, be mad at him, do whatever, but don't stop him from seeing his kid. And I'll always respect him for that. He was always really good about that stuff. Now, of course, like I said, I'm friends with her. I'm friends with her parents. I mean, hell, a couple weeks ago, went to the river, floated the river with her parents and my son and everything. And so, and then number 2, she's a piece of trash. Don't talk to her at all. And then, like I said, number 3, we were gone. I was gone the entire time, and so what she did was, while I was in county, she actually, we actually got married, because in the state of Texas, visitation, things like that are very difficult unless you're married. And so, maybe at some point there might have been a wedding or something like that. I don't know, like something like, real, but for more intents and purposes, I mean, it was really just formed to make things easy. So, it's kind of hard to count. I guess number 3. And so anyway, so I end up coming home. We get divorced in November because, like I said, I was away. She ended up meeting somebody while I was gone, ended up falling in love with them. No animosity, no anger whatsoever. And so we get divorced in November of 2016, and but I've been home for a while, and so actually ended up meeting who ended up being number 4 in October of 2016. So we started dating for a while, and number four was just a real pain in the ass. She just wasn't ready for life. Actually having to be a grown-up for a lot of stuff. And so we dated for a while. It was pretty toxic. I ended up leaving. Like I said, we actually moved into, she moved into my house. I ended up leaving in December of 2018. Got my own place. She ends up moving back in with me, contacting me, asking me to take her back. She did have 2 children, and who I cared for. I did deeply care for, and that sucked, dealing with that. But she asked me to take her back, and she ended up moving back into my townhouse in like March of 2018. Fast forward to like September of 2018, a hurricane hits in North Carolina that I have to go to, and she basically tells me that I need to choose between the job that I've always done my entire life that supports my family and provides for my children, pays child support, that I need to choose between that and her. And I said, well, if I'm being forced to make the decision's easy, and I'm choosing my job and my kids and my family. So I helped her pack her shit, and she moved out. And fast forward to January of 2019, she starts contacting me and asking me and begging me to take her back and blah, blah, blah. And I'd actually proposed to her like in the summer of 2017, and we just never got married. So I guess, and I'll go back and I'm really fucking this up a little bit, but number 1, we actually did have a wedding. We got married August 30th, 2002. We actually did have a wedding where, yeah, guys, I have a photographic memory, lots of dates. So we got married August 30th of 2002, where we actually had a wedding. We had a big wedding, lots of people there, big ceremony, big reception, went on a honeymoon to Maui, stuff like that. Number 2, I actually never intended on marrying her. I never really wanted to marry that individual. We actually just presented ourselves as husband and wife, and in the state of Texas, you do become common law. There's a bunch of different rules and timelines and things like that, but we did present ourselves as husband and wife. We had joint bank accounts, and I owned houses and stuff like that where she was not on the mortgage but was on the title. So technically we were married, and so what we did was number 2 and I went down and went to the courthouse, and we got married, but we got married in 2009 after our daughter was born, and we backdated it so that if our daughter grew up, our daughter would, believe that her parents were married prior to her being born. So never had a ceremony or anything like that with number 2. Obviously, number 3, I wasn't even present. I did the shit over a phone. Number 4, what ended up occurring is in January of 2019, again, asks me to take her back. And I'm traveling, going back and forth to North Carolina for work. And one day, I get this, she contacts me and tells me just to meet her at the courthouse. Meet her over here. I figured that we were going to try to do the marriage thing at some point, and I figured what she was doing was we were going to go down and apply for a marriage license. Well, apparently she had already gone down there and filled out all the paperwork, but couldn't finish it because it didn't have my signature on it. So she was having me meet me down there just to get my signature on this marriage license. We ended up getting married on February 28th, 2019. What I really found funny about that, which she didn't recognize, and I guess a story I'll go into later, is that I actually got fixed on February 28th, 2017. She was actually there for it. So number 4 was there for it. Actually kind of a funny story. Maybe I'll tell that at another time. But we ended up February 28th. We go in front of the judge and in his own chambers, and he marries us. So she, I mean, I guess I can, I mean, I've got videos of certain things. And so I guess it more than justifies, I mean, what I can say, because I have videos of it. But yeah, things started changing pretty quickly after that. I mean, she'd used my last name for quite some time. She'd used Husk as her name. I mean, I think even, I'm not sure if she had her driver's license changed, but she used it on her social media. She would present herself to people as Miss Husk, stuff like that. And eventually, you know, she got her license changed because it was legal, whatever. But things did certainly start changing. So we were actually in Indianapolis in June of 2019. She flew out there to meet me out there. I was going up there for some training, and one night she gets we all go out with like the class and everything, and everybody else brings their family members if their wives are there or whatever, and she ends up drinking like 4 bottles of wine. Well, I hadn't paid attention to this, but she had also taken some Adderall and just became extremely belligerent. We went out to a bar, not a bar, I guess like a dance hall kind of club, like a country dance place. And she ended up, she did something that I know she would that she would have gotten really mad at me for. She was out on the dance floor and walks up behind a guy and slaps his ass and starts grinding on him. Now, the grand scheme of things, kind of funny, but I know if I had done that, she'd have gotten pretty upset. So calmly, what I said to her was, hey, I said, look, if, you know, I have fun, but don't do anything out here that you would get mad at me for. Just because I'm here doesn't mean, you know, there's approval for anything. It's just not cool. So anyway, that started like a whole fucking thing. She ends up walking back to the hotel, claims she can't remember anything. But she was able to find her way back to a hotel, walking down the street in a city that she had never been to before in her life. But apparently doesn't remember attacking me in the hotel, even though I have video of it, even though I've got scratches and gouges on my face and blah, blah. So anyway, shit's going downhill. Fast forward, something else happened at my house. I had to have the police remove her from my house in August of 2019. I had video cameras installed in my house specifically because of shit she was doing. And luckily, what she did was caught on camera. I showed the police when they arrived, and they immediately removed her from my house. Told her not to come back. So anyway, I filed for divorce on August 28th of 2019, which was 6 months to the day of us getting married. And that was finalized on December 9th, 2019. Interestingly enough, she never showed up for it. Kind of the same thing with number 2, never showed up. Number 2 was, by the time we got divorced, or by the time when I filed for divorce, she was already in another relationship. I think she's had 4. Number 2 has had 4 separate domestic violence charges against her since we got divorced in 2011. So she's a real peach. Then I've got, like I said, number 3, no animosity there. I totally understand everything there. Number 4, she's actually now married to, and I believe has just had a child with the guy she was cheating on me with. So super classy individuals. But hey, what can I say? I've been married 4 times, so right. So it makes I'm a kind of a scumbag, right? So anyway, yeah, kind of weird. I realized that that was brought to my attention, and there's a whole lot, obviously, of each individual marriage. But it's kind of weird. Like I said, I really don't count number 1, because we were young, and I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that in any kind of demeaning way towards her whatsoever, or her family, but I really don't count number 1 simply because we were so young, and it just didn't, really didn't last. I don't count number 3, simply because, quite honestly, it's like somebody got married to get a fucking green card. I mean, we essentially got married so that, it made it easy for me to see my son, which again, gotta love, man. She was a great woman. She was there, was wonderful. So I greatly appreciate that. And then number 4, yeah, don't really count that. It's like we dated and then got married and fought the entire fucking time and got divorced. So, kind of a bunch of nonsense, but I do count, unfortunately, the absolute worst one in my life. I've got to be honest about everything, is I do count number 2, simply for the fact of the longevity of it, that we actually did date for a couple years, 3 years before we got married, and then we were married for a couple years, and actually, because I will say, like, number 1, we had a child together, but we never really occupied the same house with our child. It was a very short period of time where we actually were together in the same house with our son. Number 3, we have a son together, and we never lived under the same roof with our son. Number 2, and I'll say number 4, we had no kids together. Thank God. I got fixed. She was trying. And that was a big problem, big reason why we ended up getting divorced, and why we ended up fighting a lot, is because she wanted me to reverse my vasectomy so that she could have a kid by me. It bothered her that that apparently I loved 3 women so much that I had children with them, but I wouldn't do it with her. It made her feel less than a woman. And I'm like, that's just fucking insane to me. That's really just an insane thing. Like, I'm not, yeah. So luckily did not have children with her. And, they have, but with number 2, we did live in the same house with our daughter for 3-4 years. So there's a lot of time there, but I always get a kick out of the things that people would say to me, because I've been married 4 times. For example, I've been married 4 times now with kids from 3 separate women. number two, who is a nasty, god-awful person now, she's been married 3 times with children from 3 separate men. She's actually had three children from 3 separate men. Number 4, who is also an extremely nasty person, has now been married at least 3 times with children from 3 separate men. And so I think it's kind of funny. I kind of giggle at that. The whole time, my past, my history was a huge issue for everybody, and then those things that comes about where they have, essentially are living the same lives that they used to talk shit to me about. So kind of entertaining there. But yeah, and I will say, I am. I have been dating, and it's something I'm very honest about. It's not something I hide. I've been seeing one person in particular, and I was the very first conversation we had, I told her about it. It's just not something I've ever really put out there on social media, talked about. But I know people have asked about a lot of stuff just because there's like holes there. And I'm not, I do know that I get on here and talk and stuff like that, but I guess that's the weird thing about society is how little people actually pay attention to certain things, because they just look at the picture and it's like, or it's kind of like what's going on with the government. It's like they want you to all this shit goes on over here, so you're not looking over here to see what's happening. It's just one of those really weird dynamics of things. So, it's like I don't know. I just kind of live my life, and people would, I guess it never, no one ever really thought about it. So they'd see pictures and things like that, but it's not something I've ever really kept secret. People have asked if anybody asked. It's something I immediately talked about. So anyway, I was actually, so yeah, the girl that I'm dating now, and not girl, the woman I'm dating now, she's 34. Like I said, I told her from day one, like literally our very first phone conversation, which is kind of funny because, and the reason I know people are like, you guys are going to be like, what? Why the fuck would you tell somebody that, like, the first thing? Well, again, it's not something that's just openly out there. It's not like I put a bunch of shit on my social media and it's like, hey, what do? You put it on the about, the about me page on Facebook. No, it's not like that. But there was a comment that, we'd been kind of talking and everything, and she made a comment about how her past relationships, they'd always used things against her, like things that she had said or done, whatever. They try to throw it in her face, like whatever it may be. It could be something big, could be something benign, but they would try to use it and they would throw it in her face for whatever fucking reason. And so I guess for me, it made sense to say, well, let me tell you all the fucked up stuff about me. So if you think that I'm going to sit here and throw stuff in your face, or if that would ever be the potential, if it's something you're worried about going into another relationship, let me tell you some stuff about me. So you'll know, because look, these are not things I've come to live with all of it. It just is what it is. You kind of just have to accept it and move on down the road. But I don't want it thrown in my face. And I will say that number 4, that was the worst, is every time she'd get upset, I'd have to hear about my fucking past. I'd hear about the shit from years ago and this, that, and the other. And I'd hear about, my kids' moms and an endless amount of stuff. And I'm like, it would just be thrown in my face. And so with her, with the woman I'm dating now, I made it very clear, like, let me tell you some stuff about me. So you'll know that I'm not the kind of person that sits there and throws stuff in your face, because I don't want it done to me. It's not something I want you doing to me. So I told her literally from the very beginning, which was kind of funny. We had a conversation about it. we had a conversation. I asked her about it, like 2 days later, and she told me she talked to a couple of her friends about it. And my first assumption is they said, run for the hills, get the fuck away from this guy. And she told me, she says, no, she says, very surprisingly, her friends actually, stepped in and said, no, the fact that he told you about it right away has to be admired. Obviously proceed with caution, get to know the guy, whatever. But they were I was very surprised that these are women, they're, we're late 30s, early 40s. And, these are women that have been through life, everybody's been through some version of shit. And it was very surprising. But also very refreshing that they told her, they said to her, hey, no, don't run just yet. Because at least he's going to be honest, which clearly I am. I will spout, everything, spew everything about my own existence on here. So I have no problem being honest. It's out there for the world to see. But anyway, it was kind of funny because I've only talked to she's met my best friend. She met Fred and Sam this past weekend. Obviously, I posted a couple pictures of her on my story on Facebook and on Instagram over at jason.husk. And it was kind of funny because, on my stories, I usually get, anywhere between 300 and, 400 views of certain things. And I've had one photo, which I found so funny. I had one photo on my story, just like on Facebook, for example, where it had 780, views and 300 reactions to it. And I know all that sounds kind of fucking stupid, but it's not, it's not expected. So I found it odd. And it was literally a picture of me in the gym in a pair of pink shorts. It was a pair of gym shorts that were pink. They're Adidas Prime Blue, they're recycled material. And I guess everybody thought it was great. They're these pink shorts, whatever. But it was funny because I saw on her picture that obviously I don't post, stuff like that. Certainly don't post pictures of people that I'm, not, dating for a while. And this picture had almost 500 views, and I was like, wow, it's very surprising. It was the second most, and then it was a couple hundred on like Instagram. But anyway, it was just really funny. So we were actually talking about it today. She was making a joke about her needing to come onto my show, so it'll pump up the viewership and everything. And I told her in due time. So anyway. So yeah, guys, hey, I've been married 4 times, and I have children with 3 separate women. I don't know. I will say this, that I've paid child support since I was 21 years old. I've taken care of my children. Anything they need, I've always been there for them. I do all the extra stuff, whatever, all kinds of stuff for all my kids, whatever's necessary, whatever's needed. And so these are kind of some of the stories and things like that. So when I say something about being responsible and taking responsibility, and I'll tie this back into, and that's what had me thinking about all this was, I guess it doesn't make sense because everybody sees me and they don't think, well, what the fuck do you know about making hard choices and things like that? And I'll tell you, I've got 3 children and I take care of them. And I will tell you this, I'll be honest, number 3, she had to have a medical procedure. She actually had to have an abortion. About 6 months in to us dating, she actually did get pregnant, but it actually started causing her health problems. So it wasn't something that was wanted. It was something that was necessary to save her life. So I don't take any of the things I say to you guys without having some type of firsthand knowledge of it. I actually have experienced a lot. You know, been around the world, done a lot of things, been extremely wealthy, been extremely poor, you know, been married, been divorced, have kids, you know, lived a single man's life. You name it, I've been there. When I talk about things like race and things like that, look, I've been in places where I was treated like the absolute minority. And I know firsthand what it feels like. So when I say something, it doesn't come, it's not fucking half-hearted. It's I have very firsthand experience of anything I talk about. So it's and that, like I said, that's what had me thinking about it. Was that I have been there. I've had to deal with those experiences and I've had to live through it. So when I talk about being responsible, yeah, you know, I made decisions I made decisions in 2002 that are still affecting me to this day because we were not responsible. I mean, we weren't planning on having a kid, but by default, because we weren't trying not to have a kid, we made a decision. We were making a conscious decision to not protect ourselves for not having a child. The end result of that was very well going to mean having a child. And we as parents decided to, you know, keep our son and raise him and be parents. And the same thing, you know, with, I'm not saying that there was discussions of abortion with every single one of them, because that certainly did not take place. But you still have that, you know, you still have that responsibility as a parent to, hey, look, this is, we gotta do the right thing and be parents, and we made a decision and we have to take that responsibility. We did that. And again, it's by default. If you aren't taking the necessary precautions to not have a child, then you are making a conscious decision, or at least have a conscious understanding that a child could occur. I mean, I will say very fortunately, you know, for the longest period of time with number two. That's what it always makes me think of is Austin Powers. Hello, number two. For some reason, it also ends up sounding like my buddy Robbie, who's Indian. Hello, number two. Would you like a? He actually said this on the phone the other day, so I don't feel bad for it. Would you like a Slurpee? He's a doctor, and he's got a great sense of humor, and so, Fred was talking to him on the phone, and I could hear him, and so I was just yelling at him on the phone, and you could tell that he had a couple cocktails and he'd been relaxing and everything, and when he's drinking, like his accent is like super heavy. When he's not drinking, like he almost has no accent whatsoever. But when he starts drinking, it's like super heavy. So we tell him that like when he's not drinking, he's American, and when he's been drinking, he's Indian. And he goes straight into an Apu, you know, Apu from The Simpsons. The guy goes straight into an Apu character. He does it all on his own. It's the funniest fucking thing to hear an actual Indian. And this guy lived there in the jungle, like in the fucking jungle, where they had to, there was people having to stay up at night and be on the lookout for tigers and fucking, you know, elephants, you know, coming through the jungle trees and shit at night. That's the way he grew up. And then I'll have him on one day and he'll tell the story about moving to LA and becoming a blood. Which is the funniest fucking thing. You got to imagine an Indian being a blood. So kind of funny, but so yeah, so like I said, we as a man, I understand a lot of these things. I'm not yes, I am a straight white male who has grown up with privilege, but I have also had to live on the other side for quite some time. Not only due to my own decisions in life and having to deal with going away and things like that, but also in marriage and divorce, literally being treated like a second-class citizen. So what I say, it really doesn't come off lightly. I still love my children and I make every effort to get along with their moms. But you really do. I mean, I certainly understand what it's like to be treated like a second-class citizen, especially when it comes to divorce, because most men are not treated very fucking kindly when it comes to divorce. And hey, it's life. It's life, and you got to deal with it. And I do believe I'm fortunate enough that I've got a will and I've got a drive that I'm just going to keep fucking working. And the more money they want to take from me, and the more money I'm going to just try to go out and earn more. I mean, that's just life. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm not going to curl up in a fucking ball and quit. I mean, I didn't vote for fucking Biden. Voted for Trump. I get out and fucking win. So, I'm not going to fucking curl up and say, hey, government, take care of me. I'm not going to be a fucking Biden voter. I'm going to go and do something fucking productive with my life. That's how I've always been. Anyway. So that's it, guys. Anyway, figured I'd let you guys in on that, kind of fill in the blanks. Again, there's stuff to all of these stories. I mean, there's little things here and there. Like I said, getting a vasectomy, the vasectomy story was pretty goddamn funny with number 4. Some of the funny fucked up things I did that went through with number 3, kind of entertaining. Number two, all this other bullshit. I mean, don't get me wrong, good things, bad things. And then number 1, going all the way back to her, lots of different stories. I mean, to this day, like I said, we've there was a lot of fighting in the beginning, especially with them, because that was just the way it was. And, I mean, I wasn't the easiest person to deal with, and, we were young. And so, I mean, this is after the divorce and everything, but, it was, I think a lot of parents is like this. It's like you have your first kid and that child's just like, oh my God, can't get dirty and all this other stuff. And by the time you have child 2 and 3, it's like, hey, just, try not to eat the dirt, if you can, stay out of the oil patch that's on the ground. And so like with that, I was young. It was my first child. It was obviously extremely emotional, with the divorce and the child and everything. And, I, didn't know how to handle it properly. I wasn't, grown or mature or anything. But as I got to, 2 and 3, obviously, just being grown up and mature, and hey, the kids are still going to be there. I don't get as much time with them as I want. It sucks, but it will all work out. And at the end of the day, my kids will know anything they want from me. Obviously, I'm an open book. But like I said, going back to number 1, I mean, to this day, we still, I mean, hell, when Braxton had his graduation party, I was over at their house, was hanging out with them at their house and ended up staying there afterwards. And we all got in the hot tub and sat there and just had conversation. It was literally like, my son's mom was over here on one side of the hot tub, and her husband is over here on this side of the hot tub, and we're just sitting there having a conversation like 3 normal people. It was nice. And again, like I said, I think it's all due to him. Like he's just handled everything, I think, super well, and I think he's always been a great guy. So I always have to say thank you to him. And her parents have been, really great and supportive over the last, few years. So anyway, like I said, when you know somebody since you're 12, you can have fights and all this other bullshit. And then after 20 years, kind of the shit kind of goes away. So what do you do? Right? So anyway, guys, that's it. Still want to say fuck you to that guy on Facebook. This dumb fuck still continues to respond and try to bait me into bullshit. And I just ignore him. I think it's the funniest thing, because he'll continue to try to address me. and I won't even address him directly. Like, people will say stuff and I'll just talk to them. Like, and he can see everything, but I'll talk about him where he can see it to them, but I won't address him directly. I'm like, hey, be forewarned, avoid this fucking person like the plague. It's like going down a black hole. You're just going to regret it. Don't fucking engage the dude. He's literally going to justify his position by any means necessary because he's a fucking hypocrite. Don't get involved with this guy. So I say, I hope everybody has a great day except for that guy. Fuck him. He literally like twice today has tried to engage me on a conversation. And again, it sucks because I don't block anybody. I don't block anybody on social media. I have blocked my number 2. I have blocked her, and because she's just fucking nasty. I think I told you guys she actually texted my father. And I think everybody knows how much I care about my father and how deeply protective I am of my family. She actually texted my father. We were in Washington, D.C. in 2019. She texted my father because she's pissed off at me over a stupid fucking thing. Like, I was trying just to be nice to her, just be cordial and have just like cordial conversation with her for the benefit of our daughter. And she sent me a doctor's bill. Now, I pay for medical insurance. I pay for that as part of my child support. So she sends me this bill saying, hey, could you pay for this medical bill? And I said, well, actually, she didn't send it to me. I said, she just sends me the amount. She's like, and can you send me the money for it? And I'm like, well, why don't you send me the bill and I'll call the hospital? Because I don't have to pay her. I don't have to pay her directly. I can pay the fucking hospital. Because she certainly hadn't paid the bill, so I don't have to pay her. I can pay the hospital. Whether I pay 100% of the bill or 50% of the bill. Well, she sends me this bill, and I pay for insurance, and insurance hadn't paid for anything on here. So either insurance is denying it, which is a real possibility. They're not going to pay for anything. Or she's not been carrying insurance on my child. So she loses her fucking mind. She flips out on me, starts being really mean and nasty with me, and just goes down total road. And then she tries to go to talk to my dad. And she starts, trying to get my dad to help and justify. And my dad's like, he's like, I'm standing right next to Jason. He never told you he wouldn't pay the medical bill. He just said, give him till Monday. He'll call the hospital. And she just, of course, she's drunk or high or whatever, and she's being mean and nasty. And she literally texts my father and tells my father that she hopes he dies and that our daughter will spit on his grave. I mean, who fucking says that? It's like, she's just a fucking nasty person. Just a mean, nasty fucking person. So, anyway. So fuck her too, right? Good day to everybody. I hope everybody had a good day except for that dumb fuck on Facebook and her, right? Hope everybody else has a great, fantastic day. Thank y'all so much. I'm super appreciative of you guys, as always. So many just great messages from people, communicating, mostly just being, so super kind and supportive, and just people reaching out, friends, how you doing, messaging me on, social media. Social media is really great for that purpose. It's bad for so many other things, but great for that purpose. I think it's so great in so many ways. But anyway, thank y'all so much. Thank you, everybody, for all the stuff you guys always do for me. I really appreciate it. And I'll talk to y'all very soon. Bye.